the area of steel provided is equal to so previously we calculated required spacing using B by AST of rebar. So now we have to find AST, that is the area of steel provided, and we can now cross multiply required spacing by area of steel. So we get this equation: area of steel provided is equal to B by spacing. So we have just cross multiplied, and area of steel, that is per bar. So this comes as 5360 mm square, considering spacing as 150. Now percentage of steel provided, area of steel provided divided by B into D. So this comes as 0.206%, which is safe considering the nominal reinforcement, that is 0.12%, and one-way shear from the SP16. Now the another step is check for one-way shear. So the critical section for one-way shear is at distance D, that is the depth, from face of the column. So now let us see in the figure again. The statement says that the critical section is at distance D, smaller d, that is the effective depth, from the face of the column. So if we see this as D, then the critical section is at this point. So this being the critical area or critical section. So the failure occurs at a distance D. So the distance of critical section is equal to 650 mm, which is equal to D, and UDL along overhang. Again, for a UDL and for a cantilever section, we are going to check the shear at distance D. So the UDL at the shear, or the UDL at the critical section, will be 197.4 kilonewton per meter square, considering there is no variation in the soil pressure. So 197.4 into 4, just converting the pressure, that is soil pressure, into UDL, we get 789.6 kilonewton per meter. And for a cantilever beam, the shear force is calculated as W into L. And for a particular section, if we are calculating, then we have, suppose this is the cantilever beam and it is subjected to P kilonewton meter, and the span is the span of the cantilever portion is L. Now we have to find at a particular distance D. Then the shear force is W into L minus D. So this is the general condition. So shear force at critical section is equal to W into L. Don't get confused. L and 789.6 is the kilo. This is the shear force into B. B being the length of the critical section, minus D, because we are finding at a critical section. So 789.6 into 1.7 minus 0.65, that is the length of the cantilever portion minus the point at which we have to find the shear, that is the value D. So this comes as 828.9 kilonewton. So this is the shear force at the critical section. So I have calculated it. Now we are going to calculate shear stress and compare with the shear strength of the concrete, whether it is safe or not. So shear stress is nothing but force divided by the area of the section. Bmax is equal to 828.9 into 10 to the power 3 divided by 4000 is the width of the section, into depth is 650, so this comes as 0.32 Newton per mm square. Now we have to find the shear strength of the concrete considering the steel provided, and from IS 456 we have so for M20 grade of concrete and the percentage of steel is 0.206, so the value lies between 0.28 and 0.36, and by linear interpolation we can find, so if we see here, okay, we have to find for percentage 0.206, so I hope you can understand linear interpolation. 0.36, 0.28, so 0.28 plus y2 minus y1, so 0.36 minus 0.28 divided by x2 minus x1, so 0.25 minus 0.15 into x minus x1, so x is 0.206 minus x1 is 0.15. So on solving this, we'll get the value as 0.33 Newton per mm square. So this is the shear strength of concrete. Since tau c is greater than tau max, so it is safe for one-way shear. As you can see this value, so it is safe for one-way shear. So now we have to check for two-way shear, and for checking the two-way shear, the critical distance or the critical section is at distance d by 2. That is 650 by 2, 0.325 meter from the face of column, and the two-way shear, which is also known as punching shear, acts on an area rather than along the width. So we have to check for two-way shear at a distance d by 2 from the face of the column at each side. So if we see our figure, this will be the critical area, that is the punching area, the shaded area. So this is the section at which the punching is maximum, or this is the section which is responsible for resisting the punching at a distance d by 2, d by 2, d by 2. So we have to calculate the two-way shear as per this punching area. So the perimeter of the resisting section, that is the shaded area, so this will be equal to the, for a rectangle the perimeter is 2 into L plus B. So the length of the critical section is BC, that is the width of column, plus d by 2 plus d by 2. Similarly DC plus d by 2 d by 2. I hope you can understand this. So 2 into L plus B, substitute the value, we get 4.6 meter. Similarly, area of concrete, that is the unshaded area. So this is the shaded area and this is the unshaded area. So we have to calculate the area of the unshaded part. So for which it will be equal to the area of the critical section, that is the area of the resisting section, minus area of the footing. So area of footing is LF into BF minus area of the critical section. So this comes as 4 into 3.8 minus 0.6 plus 0.65, 0.4 plus 0.65. So this comes as 13.9 meter square. Or you can directly do like this also, LFBF, which is the area of footing minus perimeter of resisting section, perimeter, so this is perimeter, into depth of footing or depth at the critical section, which is D. So from this also you can get the area of the unshaded area. Now punching shear, that is two-way shear, Vmax is equal to the value of soil pressure into unshaded area. We are calculating for the unshaded area. So this is the punching shear, this comes as 2741 kilonewton. So this is the punching shear as it acts on the area. Now shear stress is equal to, we have to calculate whether the shear stress is within the permissible range or not. So Vmax divided by resisting perimeter into depth. So this is the area of the critical section or resisting section. So 2741 into 1000 divided by 4.6 into 1000, converting this into mm, into 650 mm. So this comes as 0.917 Newton per mm square. So this is the shear stress. Now let us see whether it lies within permissible range or not. So permitted shear stress is tau c is equal to Ks into tau c. This is from IS code. So IS 456 2000, page 58, clause 31.6.3.1. So permissible shear stress, when shear reinforcement is not provided, the calculated shear stress at the critical section shall not exceed Ks into tau c, where Ks is 0.5 plus beta c but not greater than 1, and beta c being the ratio of shorter side to the longer side of the column, and tau c being 0.25 fck in the limit state method, which is basically our method. We are not using working stress method, so 0.25 fck. So here you can see beta c is equal to ratio of shorter side to longer side, so this comes as 0.95, and we get Ks is equal to 0.5 plus 0.95, that comes as 1.45, but we cannot exceed the value of Ks greater than 1, so we are taking Ks as 1, and tau c is equal to 0.25 under root fck, so this comes as 1.118 Newton per mm square, but the shear stress is 0.917 and the permitted shear stress is 1.118. So tau max is less than tau c, hence the footing is safe against punching shear. So the depth provided is safe against bending, two-way shear as well as the one-way shear. So this is about the check, necessary check. Now let us go to the another check, that is the check for development length, whether the length available is sufficient for the development length of the column bars. So LD is equal to 5 into sigma s divided by 4 into tau BD. So this is the formula for the development length. This is also from the IS code, IS 456 2000, page 42, clause 26.2.1. So as you can see here, LD is equal to 5 sigma s divided by 4 into tau BD. So phi is the diameter of the bar from the column, not from the footing. Okay, so the maximum size of the bar coming from the column into sigma s, this is the stress in the bar at the section considered at design load, tau BD being the design bond stress. So phi, for now I'm taking 16, as the question has not given the size of the bar, so I'm assuming the maximum size of the bar from the column to be 16, and sigma s is the bond stress in the bar, so I'll take this as 0.87 into Fy. Similarly tau BD, this is the bond design bond stress, so, and it is taken as for M20 it is taken as 1.2, and for deformed bar conforming this value shall be increased by 60%, so I'll multiply 1.2 by 1.6. So 16 into 0.87 Fy, 4 into 1.2 into 1.6, so this comes as 752 mm, and the available length, is, so here you can see the length of the projection is 1.7 meter, and considering the distance or considering the clear cover, this clear cover will be applicable for column as well. So considering this also as 50 mm, so 50 50 it will be cancelled, so the available length will be 1700 mm. Since the available length is greater than LD, the development length available is sufficient for the bone development. So this is about check for development length. Now the last step is check for bearing strength of column. So the transfer of force at the base of the column, the compressive bearing resistance or the bearing strength of column or concrete is equal to 0.45 FCK into A1 by A2 to the power 1 by 2, that is square root A1 A2. So you can find this in IS 456 page 65 clause 34.4. So for the limit state method, the bearing stress shall be taken as 0.45 FCK and the bearing stress shall be accompanied or multiplied by a value equal to under root A1 by A2 but not greater than 2. So you can understand this point. And for column face, the value of A1 by A2 shall be 1 and for other face it shall be taken as any value but not greater than 2. And generally the governing face or the governing case will be the column face. So we will be considering the column face condition. The force transferred through the column is equal to 0.45 into FCK into 1. This is the compressive bearing resistance and we have to convert this into force. So we are multiplying by the area of pedestal or base of column. So 0.45 into FCK into 600 into 400, 2160 kilonewton. So this is the maximum force that the column can transfer to the footing through the bearing. But the design force is 1.5 times of 2000, that is the service load multiplied by factor of safety. So this comes as 3000 kilonewton. Hence PD, that is the design force, is greater than that of the force that a column can transfer through the bearing. So the unbalanced force has to be transferred through the dowel bar. So I'm just trying to explain how you will calculate the dowel bar. As there is no tension because there is no any moment, only there is axial force acting on the footing and the unbalanced force is equal to 3000 minus 2160, that it comes as 840 kilonewton PUF, that is unbalanced force. Now the area of steel required to transfer this dowel bar is equal to PUF divided by stress in the bar in the section considered at design load. So for now I'll be taking as 0.675 times of Fy. So this comes as 840 divided by 0.67 into 415. (3021 mm square). So this is the area of steel required to transfer the unbalanced force, and the minimum area for the dowel bar, as you can find from the IS code IS 456, extended longitudinal reinforcement or dowels of at least 0.5% of the cross-sectional area of the supported column or pedestal. So 0.5 divided by 100 into area of the column base, that is 600 into 400. So this comes as 1200 mm square. So now we'll provide 16 mm of dowel bar, and considering this area, so the area of 16 mm bar is 201. 3021 divided by 201. So this comes as 15. And so the number of dowel bar required is 15 NOS. And development of dowel bar under compression. Okay, the dowel bar will go into the footing, so the development length will be required, and for this we have 5 sigma s divided by 4 into tau bd. Everything will remain same that we have done for the column rebar, but the difference will be, as it is under compression, so the design bond strength can be multiplied by or can be increased by 25%. So let me show you. So from page 43 we can see here, For bars in compression, the value of bond stress for bars in tension shall be increased by 25%. So 1.25, and this comes as 601.76, and the available vertical embedment, that is into the footing, D, that is the depth of footing, effective depth minus, so the development length required is 601.76. Now let me show you. For example, this is the dowel bar that will come into the footing, and the length required will be equal to D minus bar, this bar, that is 16 mm, minus the another bar, that is the bar provided on another direction, minus this size of this bar as well. So this will come as 602, and the length required is 601.76. so the length available is sufficient. So this is the reinforcement drawing of the footing that we have just designed. So as we have provided 16 mm of bar at 150 mm center to center spacing in both directions, so we have this and the bar in one direction, and this will be in another direction. So we can see 16 mm bar at 150 mm center to center spacing in both direction. Similarly, we have provided 15 number of dowels bar of size 16 mm. So providing 16 mm dowel bar, that is 15 NOS, and the vertical embedment available was 602, and the development length of the dowel bar under compression is 601.76. so the embedment into the column is also 602. Similarly, the vertical embedment is 602 into the footing, and 100 mm projection is provided in order to rest the bar from dowel into the bar of the footing. So this is the reinforcement drawing. I hope it helped you. So if it helped, do like and subscribe, and the next video will be on the design of rectangular footing, considering there is a property limit restriction. So hence we have to design a footing with irregular or unequal footing projections. Thank you.